You're tired of smiling when you want to scream, tired of saying yes when you wanted to say no, tired of keeping up an image that looks beautiful on the outside but suffocates you inside. Maybe you don't even know exactly why, but you feel it, as if you're always carrying an invisible weight, as if you have to keep everything in balance, relationships, other people's moods, harmony at any cost. You were taught to be a good person, polite, kind, understanding, because they told you it was the right thing to do, because they taught you that the world rewards good people, but no one ever told you what that really costs. You erased yourself to be accepted, stayed silent so you wouldn't disappoint, swallowed your anger to keep the peace. You slowly faded, smiling on the outside, dying on the inside. And the worst part? The world didn't notice your effort, didn't value your sacrifice, didn't return your kindness. Because the world doesn't reward the kind-hearted, it rewards the strategic. Every time you let yourself get stepped on without reacting, the world assumes it can keep stepping. Every time you give without boundaries, people believe they have the right to demand more. And when you finally reach your limit and explode, they call you too much. You built such a good reputation that it became your prison. You can't disagree anymore, you can't make mistakes. You can't be human because the role of the nice one demands perfection. But let me be clear, this isn't virtue. This is self-abandonment. You're not being good. You're being afraid. Afraid of rejection. Afraid of being seen as selfish. Afraid of being who you truly are, with boundaries, desires, contradictions, and your own voice. Your yes means nothing anymore because you never learned to say no. And when you never say no, your yes loses its value. You want to be loved, I know. But the way you're doing it, you'll only be accepted as long as you're useful. And that's not love, that's emotional utility. That's social manipulation disguised as affection. You're becoming a ghost of yourself. And the worst part? You're doing it in the name of kindness. It's time to wake up, to take off that comfortable mask and see what it's really costing you. Because the world, my friend, doesn't reward those who erase themselves. It rewards those who know how to take a stand. And that's where Machiavelli comes in. Not to turn you cruel, but to teach you how to stop being dominated. In the next part, you'll understand why the world doesn't respect the nice ones, and why it's time to stop trying to please everyone. You grew up believing that if you were good, you'd be rewarded. That if you were fair, honest, humble, the world would see you, recognize you, repay you. But now you're starting to see the truth. Kindness alone is not enough. It's admired in books, in stories, in motivational speeches, but in the real world, kindness without strength isn't admired, it's exploited. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this before anyone else. Centuries ago, he had the courage to say what no one dared say out loud. It is not about being loved. If you must choose, choose to be feared. And that doesn't mean spreading fear. It means being someone who commands respect, someone with clear boundaries, someone who isn't shaped by others' desires or asking permission to exist. Have you noticed who gets the most respect in the world? Is it the most sensitive, the most empathetic, or is it the assertive? Those who know how to take a stand, those who aren't afraid to upset others. People don't follow the overly nice, they follow those who are unshakable in their beliefs. Those who speak clearly, those who don't back down when they know they're right. You've spent your whole life trying to prove your worth with kindness, but those who command respect don't need to prove anything, because strong presence is felt. It doesn't need an explanation. And the truth is, as long as you're attached to the need to be loved, you'll remain at the mercy of the world, a hostage to glances, compliments, approval, and no one respects a hostage. Machiavelli never said you have to be cruel. He said you have to be strategic, to know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to be kind and when to be firm, when to extend your hand and when to pull it back. The world isn't driven by morality. It's driven by interest, perception, and impact. And that's not cynicism, it's clarity. You can keep being the good, loyal, understanding person and keep living frustrated, ignored, used. Or you can wake up to a simple truth. Virtue without presence is invisible. Kindness without boundaries is weakness in disguise. Machiavelli wrote The Prince as a survival manual for a brutal world, and that world is still ours. If you want to be respected, you need to stop seeing yourself as a pawn and start thinking like a player. Stop begging for acceptance and start cultivating presence, not to be loved, but to be free. In the next part, we'll break the great lie of unconscious kindness, the nice person mask, and we'll see how the desire to please is actually hiding something much deeper. Fear. You think you're being kind, empathetic, understanding. You believe your goodness is noble, that your patience is a virtue. But the truth is uncomfortable and freeing. You're not being kind. You're being afraid. Afraid of rejection. Afraid of not being loved. Afraid of seeming selfish. Afraid of showing who you really are, with opinions, with anger, with limits. Your kindness isn't empathy. It's a survival strategy. Since childhood, you were conditioned to be accepted. You were taught that crying was ugly, that feeling anger was wrong, that asking questions was disrespectful. So you adapted. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You helped when you wanted to say enough. You swallowed your desires just to be accepted. Little by little, you built an armor that looks like light, but inside, it's just fear. Fear of being left behind, of being judged, of being misunderstood. And that fear wears the costume of kindness. But the cost is huge, the price of your truth. The nice person mask is comfortable. It brings compliments, smiles, approval, but it also ensures that you'll never be truly seen. Because the version you show the world isn't you. It's an edited, domesticated version made to please. And the longer you wear that mask, the further you drift from yourself. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize you don't know who you are anymore. A good person isn't weak, but the person who tries to look good all the time is in pieces. Behind excessive kindness, there's suffocated rage, hidden exhaustion, a trapped scream. You forgive too quickly, accept too much, understand too often, and inside, you're imploding. You call it empathy, but it's fear of conflict. You call it understanding, but it's fear of abandonment. You call it generosity, but it's fear of not being enough. That kindness is an emotional fraud planted in you. And now it's what keeps you from living with authenticity. Machiavelli didn't write for bad people. He wrote for good people who were being manipulated by everyone. People like you, who confused submission with virtue. And now you need to ask the question that changes everything. Is your kindness protecting you, or is it destroying you? In the next part, we'll explore what Machiavelli really meant when he spoke of image, presence, and respect, and how you can be authentic without being stepped on. Are you ready to take off the mask? You've spent too long believing you only had two options, either be a good person or become cold, calculating, and cruel. But that's a lie. A trap that keeps many stuck in weakness, disguised as morality. There is a third path, and that's where your true power lies. You don't have to be a tyrant, but you don't have to kneel anymore either. You don't have to stop being who you are, but you do need to learn how to be strategic. That's what Machiavelli meant, and that's why The Prince is still so relevant. He didn't write to teach cruelty. He wrote to expose how the world really works and how you can stop being manipulated. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few feel who you really are. Machiavelli. That phrase carries a brutal truth. Perception matters more than intention. You can be fair, honest, generous, but if you don't command respect, you'll be seen as weak. And in the real world, weakness doesn't inspire admiration. It attracts opportunism. Machiavelli said that the prince, the one who wants to rule over his own life, should learn from two animals, the fox who sees the traps and the lion who commands presence. The fox watches, anticipates, understands the game. The lion enforces boundaries, protects his territory, shows he cannot be ignored. Being one or the other is not enough. You must be both. If you're only the fox, you'll be clever but passive. If you're only the lion, you'll be feared but predictable. Balance is knowing when to be each. To be firm without losing composure. To be kind without being permissive. To be real without being vulnerable to anyone. You don't need to manipulate, but you must stop being manipulated. And that requires strategy. It requires presence. It requires the courage to abandon the nice guy role and embrace the role of the prince of your own life. From here, your posture changes. You stop begging for respect and start inspiring it. You stop needing to be understood and start communicating with clarity. You stop living for others' validation and start living in alignment with yourself. That's personal leadership. That's emotional intelligence. That's firmness with self-awareness. And that kind of presence doesn't scream, it simply is. Because someone at peace with who they are doesn't need to prove anything. Now we reach the most decisive moment, the choice between continuing to chase love or finally becoming free. Now that you've come this far, only one question remains. How much longer will you live begging for approval? You can keep wearing the mask, being the nice one, pleasant, polite, understanding, always available, always swallowing your feelings, always apologizing for simply existing. Or you can wake up. The truth is harsh, but freeing. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to pat you on the back and say, "Thanks for erasing yourself all these years. Thanks for smiling while being disrespected. Thanks for never complaining, even when you were used." That's not going to happen, because as long as you let yourself be a doormat, someone will always be willing to step on you. You call it kindness, but it's just fear. You call it empathy, but it's just avoidance. You call it maturity, but it's just self-abandonment dressed as virtue. And the more you hide, the more you bleed on the inside. It's time to stop. Stop asking for permission to live. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that belittle you. Stop trying to prove you're good enough. You don't need to be loved by everyone. You need to be whole. Freedom begins when you understand this. You owe no one anything, not your family's approval, not your friends' validation, not the recognition of those who never truly saw you. You owe one thing only, loyalty to yourself. You're not here to be an acceptable version of yourself. You're here to be you, with light and shadow, with love and anger, with strength and compassion. Because in the end, the world only respects those who respect themselves, and life only blooms for those who have the courage to live it fully. This is the final choice, to be loved for a lie, or to be free through the truth, and you already know the answer. So, stand up. Raise your head and stop asking for permission to exist, because being good isn't enough. Being whole is the only way.